All right, I call this meeting to order. Before we get started, the DSU acknowledges that Dalhousie University and the Dalhousie Student Union Building are located on traditional, unceded, and unsurrendered Mi'kmaq territory. The Dalhousie Student Union seeks to honor the relational treaty process in its programming, events, meetings, and interactions. We will begin with roll call. Amina.
Here.
Masuma Center Regrets. Chantel.
Here.
Corey.
Corey was here.
Alex Hughes.
Here.
Jeremy.
Here.
Katie George Jim.
Here.
Ali Barnum.
Jeremy's gonna be late.
He's here.
Oh.
Nick Goonge is not here. Can't believe. Liam.
Here.
Katie Douglas. Center Regrets. Cameron. Ashley.
Here.
Arizu.
Here.
Kate Rumbold. Center Regrets. Yazin.
Yep.
Reese.
Present.
Chelsea. Not here. Alex Erb.
Here.
Here. Chad sent his regrets, and Katie McLaughlin.
Here.
That is 13. We have quorum. We'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder before we consider any amendments to the adoption of the agenda? Move second. Someone. Moved by Jeremy, seconded by anyone? Alex Hughes. Wonderful.
Chris.
Yes.
Right, may I?
Sure.
I was just wondering, for an in-camera discussion, does that have to be a motion before we adopt the agenda, or can that be a motion after the agenda is adopted?
It depends if it relates to something that's already on the agenda.
It's about the elections committee.
Okay. I can add in a discussion about the elections committee under new business. So fine. I also just changed formatting thing. I apologize when I sent it out. Number 3, minutes of the previous meeting was improperly formatted. Appointments. We have both the Elections Appeals Committee and then also the Health Rep. Just one moment. Sorry, the Health Rep is the person trying to call in. Masuma or Amina and Katie, how long until you are here?
Like moments, we're just pulling into the parking lot.
Okay, excellent. That should be fine. And then referendum questions, it would be helpful if we describe exactly what the proposed referendums were. So I'm going to note all of the ones that I've received any documentation for. There's pharmacy in no particular order. Pharmacy, Ennisburg, CKDU, commerce, and I'm forgetting one.
I have an amendment to the agenda once we have a second to it.
Sure, just one moment.
Thanks.
Anybody know the referendum that I'm forgetting? This is not a reflection of how I feel about your referendum.
There's only 4. Sorry to interrupt. We might lose you because of the phone battery, but we'll be right upstairs in a moment.
Okay.
And as for my amendment, you can retract that. I just spoke to Amina and it's not necessary.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
That's the worst noise on earth. Yeah, you're right. There are only 4. So those, do you have an amendment to the agenda?
No, point of personal privilege.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, we only have 4 or 3 referendum folders.
Yeah,
We do. So we can address that when it comes to pharmacy. In terms of pharmacy, last week I received literally a picture of the proposed referendum that sort of came in front of council last week. That's all I received. I haven't received anything else. So we can chat about that when it comes up to the agenda. That's okay. Are there any other amendments? Okay. Then do I have a mover and seconder to adopt the amendments? I need to move the amendments and then adopt the agenda. Moved by Katie, seconded by Ali. Any opposition to the amendments? Seeing none, that's taken on unanimous consent. Any objection to adopting the agenda as amended? Seeing none, that's taken on unanimous consent. Move on to minutes of the previous meeting. These were both circulated, beginning with the January 24th council meeting. Do I have a mover and a seconder to approve the January 24th council meeting minutes? Chantel, second by Ashley. Were there any amendments to these minutes? Seeing none, is there any opposition to approving the minutes as circulated? That's taken on unanimous consent. Moving along to the February 7th council meeting. These minutes were also included in the package. Are there any, mover, seconder to approve the February 7th council meeting? Mover, seconder, February 7th council meeting minutes. Alex Hughes, seconded by Ashley. Were there any amendments to these minutes? Reese.
I think my name was misspelled.
We can double that. Were there any other amendments to the February 7th council meeting minutes? Then mover seconder to make that amendment, just fixing Reese's name, moved by Yasmin, seconded by Katie McClellan. Any objection to this? That's taken on unanimous consent. Any objection to approving the minutes? That's taken on unanimous consent. Communications received. I received regrets from Masuma, Chad, Katie Douglas, and Kate Rumble. We'll move along to appointments. So we have first the Elections Appeals Committee. These are two names that I just received. Second. Hello, Carolyn.
Hi, yeah.
Welcome. Just one moment.
Okay.
So the Elections Appeals Committee, Amina, do you want to speak to at all how the Elections Appeals Committee was chosen?
Yeah, so the Elections Appeals Committee was actually opened quite early in the summer and was formed just this past, I guess the two candidates now have been formed over this past few weeks. There was a interview process that included executives and staff, and there was a scenario question that was asked to each of the nominees to understand their reasoning and logic. So yeah, there was an interview process, and these were the two candidates who were both available, interested, and answered that question to satisfaction.
Thank you, Amina. There are only two candidates right now, but I believe that there will be a third one eventually. That's correct. Jeremy, did you have any questions?
Well, I just want to speak to both of them. I think that they're both excellent candidates and super competent students and would be excellent on the committee. So I encourage everybody to support the nomination.
Wonderful. Where there are only two appointees and there are three empty seats, I'd like to just do this as a straight vote. Do I have a mover and seconder to appoint Ellen Wang and Angela Danko to the Elections Appeals Committee? Moved by Corey, seconded by Jeremy. Is there any opposition to this appointment? That's taken on unanimous consent. We'll move along to health rep. We have, after consulting with the elections committee, they forwarded two names to me for this. We have Caroline Straub and Anita. Sorry, Nita, is that your last name?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we have Nita in the audience and we have Carolyn on speakerphone. They'll both have an opportunity to make a short speech and then answer any questions that councillors have. We'll begin with Carolyn because she's on the phone. if that's okay with you, Nita. But Nita, I'm gonna ask you to leave, and then you'll have 3 minutes to give your speech, and then answer any questions that come from counselors. You understand, Carolyn?
Yes, I do.
Perfect, just one moment. All right, so up first we have Carolyn Stroud. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay, so hello, my name is Caroline Stroud. I'm currently a third-year kinesiology student here at Dalhousie. I'm very active at both Dalhousie and in the community. I'm currently the president of Dalhousie Health Initiative Society, the VP of Outreach for the Dalhousie Health Science Student Association, the Curriculum and Course Coordinator for the Indigenous Health Interest Group here at Dal, and I hold positions on the Kinesiology Society and the Health and Human Performance Student Society. I am the undergraduate representative for both the Faculty of Health Council and the Interprofessional Education Council for the Faculty of Health. I hold volunteering positions at the Ronald McDonald Family Room at the IWK, a research assistant position at the IWK, as well as the Sunshine Room at the Victoria General Hospital, in addition to more. I believe that my experience in leading and being part of many councils and societies, as well as working collaboratively with different groups of individuals, will allow me to succeed as the Faculty of Health Professions DSU Council rep. I believe that I will be a strong liaison between the DSU Council and the Faculty of Health, as well as bringing forward innovative ideas to council meetings. And that is my speech.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do any counselors have any questions for Carolyn? Jeremy.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit more to just like why you're interested in being on DSU Council, like what you see your role being as a DSU counselor in relation to the health portfolio?
Did you hear that all right, Carolyn?
Yes, I did. So I guess why I'm actually interested in the position. So as I've kind of highlighted, different positions that I do hold, I'm very interested in pursuing a career in healthcare and medicine. So I think this would be a great position. I love being part of the conversation of health, and I feel like being a part of like a collaborative group such as the DSU Council will allow me to get to know different students as well as to just communicate my thoughts and opinions about different issues that arise at Dalhousie.
Katie George-Chin.
Yeah, thanks for your speech. I just had a question about like how you, I know you talked about a lot about your experience, but could you talk about an experience how you empower others and to encourage them to participate and also want to be involved just like you are?
Okay, if I heard this correctly, so it's just about how I have worked to empower others to get involved, is that correct?
Yeah, and how you think you can use this position to help others participate or know more about your position.
Okay, so as I said, I'm the Dalhousie Health Initiative Society president. So I found our society is really focused on, I guess, engaging students in health initiatives and volunteering stuff. So I feel like with that position, I've really focused on reaching out to the student body in health professions and outside of it. So I feel like that experience will allow me to, as the DSU health rep, to be able to reach out to different faculties at Dalhousie and I guess help empower them and to get them involved within Dalhousie through the DSU as well as through health volunteering activities and initiatives.
Okay, and I just have a follow-up question.
Sure.
You mentioned you were the leader or part of the Indigenous Health Focus Group, is that what it's called? Interest Group.
Indigenous Health Interest Group.
Sure, and are you yourself, or do you identify as an Indigenous person?
No, I'm not. I actually got involved with it. I'm in kinesiology, and the two presidents of the society, basically they're not Indigenous either, but basically they reached out to me, and I found it like very interesting. We really focus on, I guess, sharing the Indigenous people's like history and kind of their own experience with health. So although I'm not Indigenous, I really sympathize with them and what they've gone through, and I think it's my role is kind of, I guess, educating them to teach different courses and just telling them kind of what experiences the Indigenous people have experienced, and I guess basically how we can work towards just educating more people.
Thanks.
Thanks, Carolyn. Amina.
So my question is around engagement. So there's a number of different programs within the Faculty of Health, undergraduate, like multiple undergraduate programs. How do you plan on engaging with students across programs and communicating information between both bodies?
Okay, so if I heard that correctly, just how I would engage and communicate with the different, I guess, health professions and programs in the Faculty of Health. So I guess from my experience of being on different societies, I think really reaching out to people in the different faculties, like the administration, that basically I found a lot of them send out emails and stuff like that, and that is a very effective way of getting information out, send like weekly updates and stuff like that. As well as Facebook is always a great way to communicate, as well as email. And again, I do, as being part of different societies in a lot of different health professions, I feel like that will be also very effective if I can use those platforms as well to get information out as well.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do any other councillors have any questions? All right, so Carolyn, I'm going to hang up on you now. We're going to give Nita a chance to give a speech and answer some questions, and I will text you the results, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Or we have some discussion.
No, the discussion comes after we've heard both. All right, Nita, so you'll have 3 minutes to give a speech, and then councillors will have an opportunity to ask you any questions.
Sure.
I've also turned off the phone, so Carolyn won't be able to hear you.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm really glad to be here today. I just start like about the background of myself. I'm an occupational therapist. I finished my undergrad and master in occupational therapy from Iran, and then I moved to Canada in 2016, and I studied my PhD in health, and I'm currently doing my PhD in health at the beginning of the 3rd year. And I always was passionate about doing like being active in a student association. So I started this way from my bachelor, and I have been working as the undergrad OT representative, and then I was the representative of master students for OT, and now currently at DAL, I'm the representative of occupational therapy, and also I'm the representative to DAGs of the PhD in health program. And if I want to talk a little about our department, I just want to say that it's a big department with many disciplines, and I really think something is really lacked there is the space and atmosphere for having students from different disciplines and different cultures there. For example, I was the first international students in the PhD in health program, and we really didn't have enough like support or these things there. So I was always passionate to do something for that. I started this way by providing a brochure for international students who enter the PhD in health program. But I really like to expand this work, and so my focus is on providing an atmosphere to help students to be able to share their multidisciplinary discussions and also multicultural discussions. So thanks for hearing me.
Thanks, Nita. Does anybody have any questions? Jeremy and then Amina.
Why do you think the DSU Council is the best avenue for you to go about achieving the goals that you just set out?
Yeah, according to what I have searched in in the Dalhousie Student Union, I found there are 4 main cores there, and I guess if I can start working on societies, then providing students with enough services and societies in our department, maybe I can do something to providing enough services in the department to, I guess if I can use some, like, because I guess currently we don't have any representative, and we didn't have for last year. So if I were in this position, I will try to, because I have connections with students from different disciplines there, but I'm trying to using the services available and bringing their voice to these meetings to help them. Yeah, like, I don't know if you answered that, you can answer me more particularly, but that's about this, yes.
Thank you. I have Amina next.
So as you mentioned, there is a lot of disciplines within the Faculty of Health. So how do you plan on engaging and communicating across disciplines and with the DSU, I guess between both bodies?
Actually, we don't have, like, we were discussing, because, I'm doing my PhD in health, and this is the interdisciplinary, people, like students from different disciplines are coming to PhD in health. And we were always talking about, like, we don't have any space there that the students could come and share their things together. So I was talking to the dean of School of OT and the dean of the department to see how, like, if they can have some, like, weekly or monthly, like, events that we could gather, like, we can announce in advance, and we could gather students there, or at least I can get what, like, by email or whatever they could, so I can understand their things. And the other part is that, because our, our department has different programs, like nursing, OT, PT, and pharmacy, and our patient health program have students from all of them. So because of my discipline, I think I'm in contact with people from different disciplines at the same time, and also I'm the representative of OT students. So I can, at least I have the voice of PhD in health program and OT students.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for Anita? Sharon? Or Katie, do you want to go first and then Jeremy?
Yeah, can you tell me maybe why it's kind of like a long journey, but less about like your experience and more just about yourself. Just kind of like tell me who you are and like why you want to be a part of council or like the community that is like kind of just your personal.
The main reason that I came to this council, like I was interested to come in this council was that because I'm an international student, and I was the first international student in my program, so I have faced many challenges as an international student. And I was always talking to the people there, to my profs, I don't know, the deans, and they've always suggested to me that maybe you need to do something more, and I was okay, if I can do it, for sure I will do it. And the other reason is that so for completing that part, I feel we still don't have enough atmosphere for international working in that department. And if you want to compare that with other departments, it's not really like that. We're not a lot there. And the other reason is that, as I said, one of my focus in health, I guess it's really important and it's really helpful for students if they could working interdisciplinary. And it will really help them to improve even their thesis, because in our department, most of us are graduate students, they're in their masters or PhDs. But because I came from one discipline and now I'm doing something else, so I think I have, at least I'm international students and I'm with a multidisciplinary background.
Just lots of perspective.
Yeah, so I guess I can do, and the other reason is that personally, I was always trying to be active as much as I could to help my peers, and So I started this way even from when I was in my undergrad, and now I know more, I can do more, so I like to do my best if I can do that, so why I shouldn't do that?
Thank you so much for your answer. Yeah.
We have one more question from Jeremy, then I hope we can move to a discussion.
Sure, I'll keep it quick. You're a PhD student. Do you have any specific plans on how you plan on reaching out to students who are in their undergraduate level in the program?
You know, as I know, for example, in our department, PT students, we don't have undergrad PT, we don't have undergrad OT, we don't have, like, those guys are, yeah, like pharmacy and PhD in health and nursing. That's a good question. Like in my mind, it doesn't matter if the students are in undergrad program or they are in grad programs. Because I think it's now more about our department, not about our like degree or that stuff. So any specific plan for undergrad students? Not really, but I don't know. I will think about that, but I haven't think if I should do something separately for grad, like for undergrad versus grad students, because I was just thinking about all the students.
Sure.
I know you said everything. You talk about what you've done here, but I'm just curious about what you've done like back in Iran, if you were part of any student organizations or anything outside, just like
if I want to talk about like I will talk about my master experiences. I was the representative of OT students, like OT master students, and I was the person in the middle of faculty members and the students, and so I was attending all the meetings with faculty members, and I always like the way that we had monthly meeting with the students, and then they all shared whatever they need, and they let me knew these things, and then I moved them, like I reported them to the faculty level, and the other things that we did, like we had some annual seminars there, and then I was organizing those events. One of them was it was an annual. I'm just trying to translate that in English. So it was annual seminar of master students in OT. So all the students needed to come and talk about their projects by that time. It wasn't like we had one project and one thesis, they were different. So they came and presented their projects to the public. And then that's why in that time, so we like one of the faculty members with myself, we organized that event and finished that. And the other parts that we did in our undergrad, for example, we were the representative of OT students again. And what we did, like we had some, we have held some workshops, like searching workshops, writing workshops, or even some like art workshop. For example, I remember that we had organized some theater. It was because I was from a very big university, so they had enough equipment to help us to do some of this stuff. But yeah, that was the only thing that I could do.
Cool. Thank you, Nina. So if I have a mover second to go on camera so that we can discuss and vote, moved by Katie Jim, second by Yazin. Any opposition to going in camera?
Thank you.
And we are in camera. I'm going to ask all members of the gallery to head out. We'll let you know when you can come back in. Thank you. We're back out of camera. The next health rep on the Dalhousie Student Union Council is Nita. Congratulations, Tim. We're in public. We're on the live.
Hey, Nita.
We're the third. Moving along then to presentations. There are no presentations and committee reports. Where this was a special meeting, we don't have the usual complimentary reports, but the elections committee did submit a report that circulated the package. I believe we have Ian here. Ian, on behalf of the elections committee, have you seen the report? I believe it came from Kat.
I don't think I have actually.
Okay. Then the report is a freestanding document, and you should read it and internalize it. Other than that, though, does anybody have any questions for Ian on behalf of the elections committee? Katie, George, Jim. Sorry, there is a further discussion item about the elections committee under new business. This would be hopefully about things related to things in the report.
Yeah. Yeah, hi Ian. Hi. I'm just hoping you can kind of tell us from your personal experience and also just being on the committee. As a council, we know like things have kind of fallen behind in the timeline, and we're, or at least the last meeting, we were a bit concerned about a few things, and I was just wondering how the committee, if you're getting information from council, if things are being relayed to you as problems or concerns of council, because as you said, you actually didn't know that this report is here.
No, I'm not 100% sure of the report, but I'm assuming it's the report I looked at. Can I just take a quick look?
Yeah, sure. Can you put it up on the screen?
Sure.
It's just 5 points about what you've been doing this semester, except for the last 2 weeks, apparently.
No, I haven't actually seen that.
Okay. And then could I perhaps ask you if the committee feels supported or has the knowledge that they need to put forward the election this year?
In my opinion, I think we are very capable of putting on a good election this year.
Sure.
And we have the knowledge of how to be a leader.
Sure. Okay. And then, kind of just finally, I'm running as a candidate this year,
okay.
And there have been no guidelines. There have been a lot of questions unanswered. There are problems with our referenda questions. They probably, like we're going to be talking about that later. There have been problems with, as far as I understand, very few seats have been nominated by people. There are many vacant seats that did not have folks in them. There was no advertisement leading up to the nomination besides 1 or 2 posts. And as far as I understand, the platform for the election still has not been done.
Can you expand on what you mean platform?
So the elections platform is the website or forum that we use to conduct the votes and collect people's information, and is the voting platform.
Okay.
And so as far as I understand, that was not done up until this week.
Yes. It was in some
And can I ask you why? Because that's the only way the election is going to go forward, is if there's an election platform.
Craig and I did it this week.
Okay, so the elections committee did not, and it was done by Alex. Okay, thank you. And then I think those are just some of the preliminary problems.
Sorry, another member here. Sorry, just informing that the election platform is actually not, we're not in charge of it. It is that's what we were told.
Sure. And can I ask you, has everyone on the elections committee read all of the bylaws, policies, and have like participated in like a workshop or an understanding about how DSU elections or the policies are applied?
Not
With
to
either
my understanding.
Okay. And then a final question: Have the committee or the DRO, or are you the DRO? Okay, sorry, we haven't met before. Has the committee made an effort to talk to staff people or counselors or executives about these issues that at least at council we've talked about, as well as with Alex, your CRO?
The class of issues that we try to swim through before approaching it. So we actually have our issues that we're dealing with before we take them to discuss. So we're trying to, see if the committee is in agreement with what we noticed before coming up with it.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt. If you could either speak up, both of you, or move closer to the microphones, I would appreciate it. Sure. Thanks.
Sorry, I said one last question, but I was just also wondering, in the last 2 weeks, it says here you haven't met, but what have you done in place of not meeting?
So in place of not meeting, well, the reason we haven't met is mostly due to midterms and those other scheduling events. We knew this was going to be an issue beforehand, so we gave many of us lists of things to prepare for the upcoming election, such as like events. So we're having any debates that are going to be going on, as well as the Candidate Cafe is happening this Sunday. We've been busy planning those.
Sure. But neither of those things are for the student bodies outside of the candidates. Perhaps maybe the debates if they watch, but there's no, like, as far as I understand and read this, there's no campaign strategy to reach students to vote. There's no guidelines, and it is February 21st. Nomination period ended on 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And the campaign period starts. I'm just, these are concerns that we as a council have talked about in and out of camera, individually talked to the CRO, and I'm just worried that information is not being relayed, we're not communicating, council's not supporting, the EC as we should, the EC, like, I'm just worried and concerned that we're not communicating, and if that's the case, I would like to change that, so. Sorry, I really didn't mean to like trap you with all those questions, but I haven't talked to anyone from the EC.
That's completely understandable. If you would like to, I guess, email either the DRO or the CRO to maybe come up with a solution to these lack of communication issues that we seem to be having.
But as a candidate, as well as a counselor, like I'm. Sorry, you can...
Yeah, if it's okay, I'd like to move on to other
Yes,
questions and have you address. Perfect. Jeremy and then Amina, do you have a question related to the report?
Yeah, I do. It'd be better if you guys or you folks could either stand up or I don't know, just so we can all hear you. But yeah, so I think Katie touched on it, but like this is a crisis. We had 13% quorum or just over quorum last year, and I'm looking at this plan, and I want to preface this by saying thank you for like volunteering to give your time to do this. This is super important work, and without your work, this wouldn't happen at all. So hopefully, I'm going to try to put this the best way, but it's kind of like that Einstein quote where insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I don't see anything in this plan that's fundamentally different than last year. And I'm wondering if maybe it's just not in the plan. Like I see social media promotion and debates. Is there anything specific beyond social media campaigns that the elections committee has contemplated, discussed, plans to put in action to get out the vote that isn't in this plan? Is there anything more that you can tell us beyond a social media promotion campaign? And if not, I mean, I'd love to just even hear about if you have plans to have those discussions.
Okay, first off, I want to say possibly the route of communication might be a bit vague because if you have concerns and you speak directly to the CRO, and the CRO doesn't communicate to the committee, we don't know what's going on.
Okay. So let me clarify.
So you're supposed, I think maybe you should communicate with the chair of the committee, that's a different person who brings up the agenda of what is imminent for us to deal with.
Right.
And
If I may, then can I clarify my question? Has there been any discussions at the committee level, from your knowledge, about doing things beyond social media promotion and debates to get out the vote?
okay, I was getting to that.
Sure.
So not at committee level, but we've talked about, we've met with the residents, the RMs, and we've talked about how to promote, to encourage people to come out to vote. Maybe have the debates or Q&A in the residents in the mail hall. So we've given them dates to book space and, and we're just trying to put something in place decide which debate or Q&A is going to occur either in sheriff or in the house of but not at the committee level. Just we met with the RMs and we offered to provide this service for us.
Great, thank you.
I have Amina and then Ali.
Can I be removed?
Sure. I have Ali.
Hi, I just want to introduce myself. So my name's Emily. I was a CRO last year. So I was just wondering, in terms of communication, is it helpful for us to like CC Alex, CC you through the DRO account, as well as could we have access to the information of the chair? Because I personally don't have the information for.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'll get in contact with her and provide it to you.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to understand how is it best for council to support you and make sure that you guys kind of going back to what Katie had brought up and just making sure that everyone's getting that communication. So if there's just people that we could be including in these emails, just to make sure that everyone gets it at every level.
I think the decision was we were unaware of a lack of communication between us and you guys. So now that you can make it aware, I definitely think steps should be taken to stop that in the future and just fix the problem, I suppose.
Great, and if there's anything else that the former so there's a group of us, so there's I'm the past CRO, but there's also Mercedes Peters, Aisha, our elections committee from last year. There's a few of them that have expressed that they'd be willing to come in and just talk to you guys if you ever needed just extra support. So I can give you their information as well if you guys ever need it. So just feel free to reach out and let us know. Thanks for coming today.
Any other questions? Sorry, I have Amina, that's right.
I know this may already be on the agenda, but I'm wondering if now is an appropriate time to move in camera.
I think that it would be preferable to do this under the new business. Reports should be an information item and then getting some information via questions from the elections committee. In terms of further discussion or any talk about motions or anything, I would prefer if we did this in the new business section.
Okay, will folks on the elections committee be sticking around for new business?
Sure.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Do election committee members get an honorarium?
Yes, we do.
I have another question. I'm so sorry, I forgot. Oh, now we're good. That's it. Sorry.
All right. Are there any other questions for the elections committee?
I just have a
Sure.
little tidbit. As for the honorarium, I have not signed any contracts for you folks, so if you want to email me the list of the folks on the committee, I can write a contract so you folks do get paid your honorarium on time. Because that's a problem that would happen with people all the time.
So no further questions, then we can move along to new business. The first item is referendum questions. I'm going to ask council to indulge me and grant me a little recess. I'm getting a flurry of emails about signatures. There are questions about whether this discussion can even proceed based on rules, and I want to take a couple of minutes to get sort of my house in order and review the emails that I'm getting about signatures. Katie, George, Jim.
Can we then, while you're doing that, talk, move the elections committee?
Well, I was hoping that we could get a recess so that I can do that.
Move for a recess.
Do you move a recess?
Yeah.
Okay, move second by Liam.
How long?
5 minutes will be wonderful.
Could
That's
I,
okay.
could I motion to friendly amendment 10?
Sure. 10-minute recess. Moved by Jeremy, seconded by Liam. Any opposition to this? Let's take it on unanimous consent. We are in recess until 7:06. We're back in session. Thank you, councilors, for granting me the recess. During the recess, more emails came in, and I think that council needs to have a discussion about the consideration of these questions as a whole. Amina let me know that she would like to have an in-camera discussion about this. So Amina moves to go in camera, second by Katie George Jim. Any opposition to going in camera? Then that's taken on unanimous consent. We are in camera. Sorry. Thank you. We are back ex camera. After a lengthy in-camera discussion, council decided to move out of camera. In order to move forward on considering referendum questions, a motion to suspend the rules would have to be made. Katie George.
I would like to motion to temporarily suspend point 19, 19.4 under the section notice of motion in the union's rules and procedures policy to continue our conversation about the referendum questions in front of us today.
Thank you. Does that motion have a second? Amina, just one moment. Seconded. This motion is not debatable. It is not amendable. It requires a 2/3 vote.
And our abstentions noted as no's.
Abstentions are no's, yeah. So there are 14 people here, so it requires 10. So a motion to suspend the rules has been proposed by Katie George Jim, seconded by Amina. The rule being suspended is business requiring
Point
notice.
of privilege, sorry.
Yes.
Those who've recused themselves, we have 1, 2, so now is there 12 eligible voters?
Oh yeah, so that's. Alex, yes.
Second.
Alex, you recused yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that at the point at which you recuse yourself, you are no longer entitled to vote, and so it would be 12 is 8. So Alex, you're not voting on this. Yaz is not voting on this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the motion is to suspend Union Rules of Procedures 19.4. Business requiring notice of motion includes, but is not limited to, proposed changes to the Constitution, policies, or levies. All in favor, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? By a vote 9-3, the motion carries. So we
Point
are.
of information,
Sure.
like under what authority is that being?
Robert's Rules of Order.
And does Robert's rules supersede the bylaws?
No, but there is no.
Because there's a bylaw that says policies are binding.
Yes, but the. Sorry, which bylaw is that?
10.3. Because it says policies remain in effect until such a time they are amended or repealed as per these bylaws.
Of which policy?
10.3.
But
Of the bylaws.
Of the bylaws.
Oh, just general bylaws. 10.3.
10.3, yeah.
Executive officers, union staff, council, and members. Policies remain in effect until such time they are repealed.
Sorry, Katie George.
Sorry. Read
You can also point to bylaw 4.5 though.
Is that the one with like the suspense?
The 4.5A says that we run our
I think
meetings in
it's,
accordance with
oh, it's 10.2.
Oh,
It's right immediately before.
all meetings of council shall be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, except as otherwise provided in these bylaws.
Sorry, what was your question again? Does it go against bylaw 10.3?
10.3.
There's also in 4.5.
So, here is the thing. Bylaw 4.5 reads, all meetings of council shall be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Orders except as otherwise provided for in these bylaws, which means that when bylaws come into contact with Robert's Rules of Orders, the bylaws do supersede. 10.3b reads, policies remain in effect until such a time that they are amended or repealed as per these bylaws. So folks, I'm going to have to rule on this, and it's going to be quite consequential, so I'm going to take my time.
That you're referring to. No, that was the
That's
last
under
one.
those general bylaws.
No, because it's a class.
Okay, councilors, the point of order is well taken. I'm going to rule that bylaw 4.5, bylaw 4.5a, which reads, all meetings of council shall be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, except for otherwise provided in these bylaws. It does create a clear case in which, like Robert's Rules are superseded by the bylaws. Insofar as the bylaws do describe our policies as binding, except until they are amended or repealed as per these bylaws, mean that they are in effect, even if something is done per Robert's Rules because the bylaws specify otherwise. I'm going to rule that these motions did require notice that the previous motion is invalid because it contravenes our bylaws. Now, where does that leave us? It leaves us in a procedural position in which votes on these referendum questions cannot occur because of Union Rules and Procedure Section 19.4. Councilors can have discussion on them, but they can't approve any referendum questions. Case ratio.
If a special general or a special meeting was called after today.
Yes.
And before the campaign period. And with enough notice.
Yes.
For councilors. Could we bring these up here to that meeting?
Yes, I believe that would fulfill the notice of motion requirement set out in the bylaws and Union Rules and Procedures policy.
It has to be, sorry.
Sorry, Liam, that's out of order. One moment. Given a meeting council, Yep, so notice just needs to happen at the previous meeting of council to be considered at the subsequent meeting of council. And so we could give notice for these motions and consider them at a meeting of council called by either 25% of the council, a majority of the executives, or the president before next Wednesday. That is possible. Alex?
Procedurally, like, could we challenge the chair on that decision, and like, how would that work?
You can challenge me. So, council policy, and I believe union rules and procedures policy, it might be union rules and procedures, one of them, gives me the authority to interpret rules as they relate to council meetings. I can be challenged on that, but council would be in breach of its own bylaws. Which is a big but. But yeah, you can do that. I'm fully challengeable. Kate George too.
Oh, sorry, somebody was.
Anybody else? I haven't seen anybody else.
Oh, sorry. Is it appropriate to hear from the folks in the room that have spent hours kind of waiting and kind of talk to them about their experience and how we can go forward and make the best out of this situation? I would like to hear what they have to say.
With
So are we even on this piece of business anymore?
we're on the piece of business of referendum questions. It's just that no vote can occur that approves a referendum question.
That's okay,
Yeah.
but I think it's still important to hear, I think, because if we decide to do, what do you mean? Sorry, you can't, I know we can't vote on the specific referendum questions, but it doesn't mean we can't put forward another motion for another date to be voted on.
Yeah, you could potentially lay this motion on the table. Sorry, not that. Postpone consideration of the motion. So you could postpone consideration until the next special meeting to be called by Amina or the executive.
Sorry, I don't have my little plaque, but does tabling the motion call for discussion?
I'll look that up. I believe that the only debatable aspect of that is to when it is postponed.
Great.
I have a point of order on that.
Yes.
Does the 48-hour notice requirement apply there?
Yes.
So are we restricted to Friday at 8:04 p.m. right now is our earliest?
You would be, but also I would have to send out notice, so.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can do afternoon, we have brunch. Yeah, I'll bring mimosas.
I'll make it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I brought money here.
Need a griddle.
Point of information.
Yes.
Beyond the candidate cafe, and where we have called a special general meeting for next Wednesday to discuss the bylaws, what are the implications of having this discussion on Wednesday?
Next Wednesday?
Can I add to that? Because that has to do with like the election timeline.
Yeah, but it would also like impact the elections committee's ability to deliver that information to the referendum, like the representatives for that. So like they would be involved in the candidate cafe. So like if we were to pass this on Wednesday, they wouldn't be involved in that. They would miss out on all that information.
And also they would be able to
potentially?
Sorry, order.
Sorry.
I'm going to try and keep control of this.
Excuse me, I really have to leave in 10 minutes. Like, I've been here for 2 hours, and I'm a pharmacy representative. I wasn't aware of what time I was supposed to be here, or how long I was staying. So I was just wondering if, like, I could give you my spiel so I can head out, because I have another meeting to attend at 9 o'clock.
If I could just respond to that, we're actually
Sure.
trying to save any of these referendum questions to go to the, so as much as we would appreciate hearing what the referendum questions are about,
right now, we won't even be able to pass these as a council. So that's what we're
fine.
discussing.
I just like I have to go soon, so I'm just trying to figure out like should I stay or leave or like what's the deal there. Cause like I wasn't communicated what was going on here tonight, so I was just told to come here at 6 o'clock. So.
I feel that. Motion to postpone can be made, it is not debatable, except insofar as like what time it's postponed to.
Would someone's statement help direct council to pick an appropriate timeline?
Are you suggesting a motion to postpone?
Yes.
Okay. A motion to postpone to when?
Before February 25th.
Okay.
I had a question.
Do I have a second on that motion? Or,
Chris, can I ask a question first?
sure, what's the point of information?
So like, would that give the elections committee enough time to communicate? Like, so say like we have this special meeting so that we can try to pass these. Would that give the elections committee enough time in order to get everything ready for the people, for the candidate cafe? Because they're gonna have to create like packages for like the referendum.
That's like not our problem, I think, right now.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
because the election's
Order. This is getting into debate on when to postpone, and we don't have a second on this motion yet. Is there a second on motion to postpone, Alex? Okay. At this point, it is debatable insofar as what time do we want to refer to? Amina.
Again, where we are having a special general meeting on Wednesday, can we ask folks to attend the Candidates Cafe, as that is the only sort of kind of hindrance to moving it to Wednesday? And then if referenda questions pass, that's great. And if not, I guess that decision will happen on Wednesday.
So act like they're running a campaign until they're not. Can I move to amend my motion?
Sure.
Can I move to amend it to, what's the date of Wednesday?
28th.
To February 28th.
Okay, so motion to postpone this until February 28th. Any debate on that time, but February 28th?
Do you think?
Seeing none.
I don't know, can I ask questions?
Please.
Like, so that by the 28th, we have to have like all our campaign workers submit, our spokesperson pick, like a ton of stuff in order. I understand you guys are trying to save our questions, so I appreciate that. I don't think like we are adversaries. I'm just sort of coming from a point of like, there's like a severe burden on us, like trying to like get a campaign going when we don't even know if we're going to be allowed to run it. So I'm just curious how those two things are going to interact.
I don't know.
And can someone tell me why, maybe at some point?
Yeah, but I would like to summarize it.
Sure.
Just like, that would be helpful for me to take to my board and membership about like, what's going on here?
Yes. So in order for resolutions to, or referendum questions to be considered by councilors, a couple things need to be provided to council. The signatures in the special resolution being the two main ones. Council hasn't received all of them. There has been miscommunication or some backlog between the elections committee and council, so we haven't received signatures that we know exist or that we think exist, but haven't been sent along to council. Furthermore, because of our bylaws and our policy, a motion to approve a referendum question needs to be given notice. So somebody at a meeting has to say, at the next meeting, I want to propose this motion and give the text of the motion that they want to give. That didn't happen at the last meeting. And so we can't consider it at this meeting. Cool. It's not. Do you have any other questions?
I've got lots.
I understand. Sorry.
No, I understand that you don't have to do this.
Yeah, I want to vote on Katie George Jim's motion to postpone this until Wednesday. All in favor, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Okay, guys, you need to vote, please. All in favor of Katie George Jim's motion to postpone this till Wednesday?
It's an amendment. We haven't passed the amendment to my motion.
No, but you proposed the motion, and I'm going to accept the sort of
great.
amendment as a
Thank
friendly amendment. All in favor of Katie George Jim's motion to postpone this till Wednesday? All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. This discussion is postponed until Wednesday.
Great, may I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
May I ask the chair to allow our guests to speak to this issue?
I am not sure to what they will be speaking.
Sure, maybe I'll clarify. Can I ask them perhaps if they did research on their own or was reached out or was sought out by the CRO? Did you understand the process? And perhaps now knowing this, going forward, like how do you feel? What do you think? I just would like to hear their perspective about the referendum questions.
I'm going to put this to a vote of council.
We can still talk about these
We can still talk about the referendum questions as discussion items, but the conversation about the specific referendum questions has been postponed to next council meeting. So, yeah, councillors, do you want to give an opportunity to representatives from societies to speak about their experience or what they've heard? All in favor, raise your hand, or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So we'll go with the list that we've had here, beginning with pharmacy. Are you still here?
Could I propose a time
Sure.
limit?
Yes. I'm going to say 3 minutes if that's okay. We are running very low on time.
Okay. Yeah, I guess our experience, the reason why we're here is because last year we weren't communicated that our question, I guess, had been passed or anything like that. So we didn't know that we were supposed to be campaigning for it. So therefore, our students had no idea what was really going on. They didn't have the information they needed to really vote on the question. And therefore it did get passed by our students, and that's why we're here again. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, pharmacy. Ennisberg, whoever is speaking on your behalf, feel free.
What is the question?
We just want to know your experience, if communications were received about the referendum questions and a positive, negative experience that now has led to this.
Yes, I think there was a lot of confusions, starting with the online signatures. I think council dealt with that. But after the last meeting of council, the impression I get that we need to submit everything within last Friday that we did with a signature, with a budget, and with a question with all of those board members' signature. I think that was done, and after that we didn't receive any communication after. Just before this meeting, I was notified that we are 20 signatures short to be verified. So I'm still confused what that means and how to rectify.
Thank you. CKW.
Yeah, I don't, it's been pretty frustrating. I feel like you guys are helping a lot, but the information's been confusing, and I feel like, I collected 1,300 signatures because I knew some would be unverified, and we got those verified those have already come back from the registrar. We're 43 short. I was like, cool, I'll get you 120 more. We got them. So can you please let us know if we're in danger of coming up short? This seems like enough. Total silence. I never even got an official number of how many we needed to get. There was no we have 19,500 students at Dal as full-time students, and you will need 780, whatever the number is. We just sort of, I was try to get around 900. And that was kind of frustrating. It'd be nice to have an exact number. So yeah, the whole process, and I feel like you guys are going to bat for us. I understand there's some policies and procedures that are blocking that up. It's just sort of it's been tough. You know what I mean? Like collecting 1,000 signatures in the first place is tough, let alone like trying to deal with like this part of things. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so who did you try and contact, or who are you having issues with?
I mean, I feel
They're not just accusing, I'm just
no,
trying
no, like, I don't want to tattle because like, you know, I've been in contact with Alex quite a bit, but sometimes like he's gone silent on me for a little bit. And in the last week or so, I've sent him like a lot of questions because I'm like, you know, I was like, we have our signatures, I've got them right here. We've got our special resolution, I've got my budget. Like in my head, I'm switching into campaign mode and I'm like, well, that's not even maybe allowed. So I've sent him like 4 or 5 questions this week being like, are we allowed to do this? How does this check out? Does this go with the rules? And I've got nothing back. So that's been a little bit difficult. But, you know, like, I guess I feel like I'm gonna get burned at some point, even though I've been trying to do everything like as by the book as we can. And that's been a little bit frustrating. But, you know, I appreciate you guys trying to help. And yeah, do we need, like, I just have a quick question too. Like,
sure.
You said because our questions weren't introduced last time, they can't be approved this time. Mm-hmm. Have they been introduced this time?
They will be, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not getting
absolutely
on the same shit.
Katie, do you have a point of information or something?
I have a wacky question of the timeline of the election and the scope of pushing it. I told you it was a wacky idea, but like pushing it back, completely moving the election. Just an idea. 1 week, because if we're gonna logistically pass all of those within the election, like that's less than 5 days. Like we've heard, like it's also I think council's responsibility. We were the ones supposed to be overseeing the elections committee. And like technically they're our committee, and I'm just having a really hard time not doing more than that.
You can move a motion if you want to.
Sorry, can you?
Sorry, yeah.
The election
you can,
policy.
Pardon me?
Do you think that purview would be in the elections policy? Allie, do you know?
I'm looking right now.
Point of info?
Point of information? Sure.
Is there anyone who is able to speak to the commerce referendum question?
I believe Alexander can. Can she go?
Why don't you give him a second to figure it out?
I think Alex would have to propose it to council first.
I don't think so.
No. So Kendrick's one of the elections. It's one of the elections policy. The chief returning officer shall determine the present and present to council for consideration and approval the date of the annual general elections. But that also says by November.
Sorry. Insofar as council has the authority to set the elections timeline, subject to rules in the elections policy, though. Yeah, now, council can postpone aspects of that.
So we have a motion an active motion on the table now.
So you're proposing no.
May I withdraw my motion?
Okay. Yeah, you can withdraw the motion to.
I'm not, but I'm asking if I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to move a motion? Liam Finnegan.
Just an idea about not moving the election, but shortening the campaign period. Would that help at all? So instead, no,
I would not.
Okay. Does anybody want to move a motion? Otherwise, we'll move on to Actually, let's just move on to commerce. Do you have a point of something? I'd also like to remind councilors that it's 8:20, and we can't have this meeting past 9.
I'll go check. Yes.
Alex Hughes, do you have point or
What would
point of
doing that
privilege.
fix that that moving in 4 days doesn't?
Sorry, this is debate
No,
on,
like
this is
okay,
debate
sorry, I
on
just-
that, and we can't have a debate on
to
motion
Alex
that's not
and
on the
we're
table.
still in the current motion, so like I shouldn't even run it. I'm sorry, it was just
Alexander, do you want to speak to commerce?
Yeah, like I basically wanted to echo everything that you said. We did everything by the book. Like I read the bylaws and policies by myself, so it's a little bit frustrating to hear that we didn't do everything in our capacity because we did. And a lot of the clarification that we wanted wasn't clarified. Eloquent, I know. And I was the one who had to reach out to the CRO, and I did struggle with having communication with him, although he was helpful at times. It was just like, it was very sporadic communication, so it's hard to have my questions answered in time, and there was a lot of scrambling to get the petition done, but like we did put forward everything in the guidelines and the policies and the bylaws. So I'm just, like, don't think that the people up there, like, don't think that we didn't do everything right, because it might have just not been communicated properly to the chair. Like, we thought that we put everything forward that we needed to, so yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. With nothing else sitting on the table on this referendum questions, we should move along to society policy amendments.
What?
There's, we heard from the 4 societies. Does anybody else have any motions or any?
But we're in a motion.
What motion are we in?
The motion to postpone these questions.
That was already passed.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I thought we voted to, oh, I'm so sorry.
I have to get out, but thank you everybody for listening.
I just ask a question.
Sure, I'll take a question from the floor.
Sorry, like who, I know that you guys probably have a lot of secret talks, and I don't know what's going on, but going forward, who's in charge? And like, will my question make it, and should I be like putting effort in?
This is the governing body.
Okay, I don't, and that sounded like more patronizing than I meant it to. I don't mean to like sound like, who's in charge here? Shit like that. I just sort of like, you know, like, yeah, like, I've been talking to Alex, Megan's been really helpful, but is that the right people to be talking to? Should I be talking to somebody else? Like, what is, like, how do I make sure my stuff gets done? Because I keep coming here and we try, but, and I know you guys have the rules and that's what's going on.
I think that question might be answered.
And I guess I'm just curious, like, what can I do on my end to make sure that we're gonna get our question on the thing?
As far as I can tell, you have done everything correct, and I don't want you to walk away from this meeting feeling as if council has made a decision that says that CKDU hasn't done anything correct. In terms of who you can talk to, I'm not sure. The Chief Returning Officer, Alex, is the point of contact for referendum questions, and we are actively trying to sort of work through how council interacts with this Chief Returning Officer. But from your point of view, you have done nothing wrong.
How do I do it right?
I
truly
really don't know, and I wish that I did know.
Okay. Because I'm just like, we're gonna have like, you know, going forward, like I'm trying to get clarification on the rules because I have to pivot it into like, hopefully running a referendum. Who's gonna clarify those rules? Who's gonna interpret those rules should we fail to like follow them? Like how?
Yeah, that's.
I've got like lots of questions that
Point of information, the rules don't exist yet.
Is that not what those bylaws then are not legitimate?
There are
Sorry, order. The bylaws, yeah, so the bylaws refer to council's operations, but your point of contact should be Alex Lee. Obviously this is broken down several times, but I truly don't know how CKDU especially, how any of the referendum, I don't know where you are in your process, and I don't know how you could do things righter.
Follow-up question then as well, that's like something that makes me nervous is like, presumably there's a somewhat contentious relationship between him and you guys. Okay. And if we find ourselves on the wrong side of him, like, and I'm not, like, I've had a good relationship with him, like, when he's responded, it's been positive, and like, you know, I'm not zero trying to diss on that dude, but I'm just sort of like, he's gonna interpret our campaign, and like that if you can't get this part right to your satisfaction, that feels a little bit dicey to me. You know what I mean?
I think that this is not a question best directed at council, but do you want to have a meeting with me or Amina or
We'll
someone?
love to meet anybody who can come.
Okay, I'll get in contact with you after this meeting, but we do have like a rest of an agenda to get to.
Yeah, I'm sorry for being like,
No, it's
sidetracked your stuff.
Okay,
I appreciate you guys trying to.
fully sympathetic.
Can I join?
Everyone here's doing what they can. No, thank you.
So then our councilor is comfortable moving on to society policy amendments. Corey.
Can I make a motion to reorder the agenda so that?
I believe Amina is going to postpone the society policy amendments. I could be incorrect. Amina, feel free to nod. Thank you.
That is correct.
Okay, so we might not. No. Moving on to society policy amendments. Amina, do you have a motion? Sorry, to postpone the society policy.
I do have a motion to postpone the policy
until
the next special council meeting on February 28th.
All right. Do I have a second for that motion? Ali Barnaby. All in favor of that motion? All opposed? Any abstentions? It is postponed. Next up, elections committee. I don't have any motions related to this. I was just told to put it on the agenda by Amina, I believe. Katie Georgetown.
Should we wait for
them? Are there rules that council is supposed to approve? Because I've heard that rumor too. What are we doing with elections committee? That's right. You added this to the agenda just a little while ago.
Okay, which is how much time is left? 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
32 minutes. I know there's a motion that's going to come up, and I feel like maybe that should go first if we only have 30 minutes.
What? Motion comes first before
a discussion.
Oh, sure. Okay. In the elections committee, I brought this forward for not this specific reason, because, but I really think with all of these new really big problems coming forward, like especially now hearing from them, I think council, we should have stepped in earlier, and I think it's our responsibility now to see how we can best support these students and all other students in the election. And you know, it's not just the referendum questions that folks are unprepared for. It's also, many other parts that we've already talked about. And I think 1 week, for example, if we push the election, it's not losing time. It doesn't go against our policy because it says it has to be, I can't remember the exact date, but from whenever the November meeting was. Sorry, Ali, I don't remember, but, and I think it will also hopefully increase voter turnout if folks are more aware and have the opportunity to be engaged. I think the biggest question will, I don't think it's going to be around nominations. I think specifically just pushing the campaign registration week, because I think that's our problem is candidates registering, campaigns registering, and being prepared for the campaign period. None of it, like the questions aren't prepared, candidates aren't prepared. There are no guidelines that have been put out to candidates, so anything they want to campaign with, they are at risk of being fined for something that hasn't been defined yet. And I think this extra week will also give council the time and space to.
Sorry, are you moving a motion to extend?
Sorry, yes.
I just don't want to get into debate on that motion.
Sure. I moved to amend the current elections timeline. I'll bring up the dates.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Robert's rules. Megan's looking something up, but I have a guide here. A motion to amend something previously adopted can only be made if no action has been taken on the original motion, but action has been taken on the elections.
I think you could definitely argue that not adequate action has been taken though. Like sufficient.
Roberts doesn't differentiate between action and adequate action.
So,
However, as soon as I find out exactly what rule this is, I believe that we can suspend this rule. We can definitely suspend Robert's Rules of Order, or Rules of Order, and not policies.
Right.
So we could potentially suspend, we'd be suspending the rules in order to amend something previously adopted. It would be one motion.
Oh, right. Okay, so are you finding the...
Yeah, but if you want to move that motion, I can sort of tell you what form it takes.
Sure. Okay, so I would like to put a motion forward to push back our elections timeline with the campaign period starting on the 5th of March.
Just a quick question, does this affect Canada Cafe in any way?
It's up to councilors. Katie, please continue with your...
Thank you. So the campaign period beginning, March 5th, 2018, instead of February 26th. And then still be 2 weeks of campaigning. So the 5th until the 18th of March. And then voting days to follow, March 19th and March 20th.
We voting March 18th, March 20th?
Oh, no, March 19th is Monday, March 20th is a Tuesday, so those would be the voting days to cast the ballots. Campaign period would end on Sunday, March 18th, as it was meant to end March 11th, which is a Sunday.
Okay, so this is a motion to, it would be a motion to suspend the rules and agree to the following resolution. Sorry.
During this time period, hopefully this will give the elections committee to follow up and learn the correct policy interpretation to relay to societies, and hopefully these societies will be able, within a very, I think, generous amount of time, will be able to complete, not complete, what have you, before the campaign period starts.
So would campaign close on March 18th? Is that correct? Be it resolved that Robert's Rules Section 12 is suspended and the elections timeline previously passed is amended as follows. Campaign opening March 5th, campaign closed March 18th, voting March 19th and 20th. Does this look like what you want?
Oh, is it in the doc?
Yes. It's a be it resolved under, it's under old business right now.
Okay, be resolved that previously passed amendments to the law. Campaign opening March 5th. Correct, that's a Monday. Campaign closed March 18th, Sunday. Voting March 18th, correct. And going back to the question about the candidate cafe, I see that being better moved to a later date. personally. However, I'm not on the committee. So that's just one I'd like to ask. I guess if council feels compelled to amend my motion to include the candidates cafe, I would encourage you to do so we can have a conversation about that if folks feel like the candidates cafe also needs to be moved later. Yeah. The 10th. Oh. Yeah.
I believe this is procedurally valid. I'm going to allow debate on it. So that's moved by Katie George. Jim, do I have a second for the motion that appears on the screen? A second. If I don't get a second, then we will not consider it. I don't see a second, and so we can't consider this motion. Is there anything else that anybody would like to happen about the elections committee? Amina.
I have a motion that addresses one of the concerns that was mentioned around the rules and regulations, which I have emailed to you. I don't know if you want to pull it up, but it reads, whereas the potential electoral candidates typically receive the elections regulations several days prior to the candidate cafe, so as to ideally allow candidates the opportunity to prepare questions and begin creating acceptable election campaign materials. Whereas this is the last council meeting preceding the candidate cafe, and to date there has not been an approved set of regulations for distribution. Be it resolved, the election regulations from the 2017-18 general election will be used for the 2018-19 general election.
Moved by Amina. Is there a second? Chantel, any debate on this motion?
I can't read that.
Okay, it was just read out, but it's adopting the election regulations from last year, from last general election, and applying them to this general election.
Sure, and are the guidelines included?
The guidelines are not included.
Okay. Oh, I think they're online though.
Is there any debate or are councillors comfortable proceeding to a vote? Seeing no debate, all in favor of this resolution, raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. So that motion carries. Is there anything else related to the elections committee? Katie George.
Can I ask the chair to be in constant communication with the elections committee to bring any of these things forward immediately that the chair deems as a concern that council should be addressing towards the election?
Sure.
To further avoid more miscommunication and punishment of students.
Sure, you can just request that, and I receive that well, and will.
Thank you.
Liam, did you have a motion or a point of order or privilege or something?
Maybe it's a motion, but like I'm thinking, what if we created like a group, like a checklist or like an outline that the election committee has, so when we have the same sort of thing next year, we have like an outline of when, like a month prior to the actual campaign period, beginning of the nomination period, the election committee will have X, Y, and Z prepared and ready. And if that doesn't exist, great. Should we then be able to enforce it better to make sure that it happens?
I would say that's possible, but probably not best to treat it at this council meeting because we have 20 minutes left.
Fair.
Ali.
I just want to speak to that really quick. So that was all communicated with Alex when he was first hired. I sat down and I transferred all the documents, and when we did that, we went through what needed to be done at what point.
Okay, thank you. Katie George, Jim.
Please don't hate me, but there is something I think was the most important thing that we tiptoed around tonight and didn't actually get to talk about in a way of any action, and I would like to go back into camera to talk about that.
I have a motion to go in camera. Does it have a second? Ali Barnaby, all in favor of moving in camera? All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We are in camera.
What about the exec?
All right, we are back ex camera. Are there any motions related to the elections committee that anybody would like to make? Ali.
I just have a question.
Sure.
So could we make a motion to like create this list, but then could we ask you as chair to present the list?
You can do that. That is within your authority. You are my boss as well. Do you want to move to, okay, be specific about exactly what you would like.
I'd like to move that like a list of just like a really detailed list be created, and then I don't know. I'm not the best at wording motions, so maybe someone else
Be
can help.
resolved, a detailed list addressed to the CRO
and the elections committee.
Detailing.
Okay, I really need this coming from one person so that I have a mover.
Detailing the
tasks and duties.
yeah, the
Tasks and duties.
And wait, in a timeline? So I know you said one person.
I know.
Well,
Tasks and duties.
no, tasks, duties, and a timeline with which these said tasks and duties are done. One in which these tasks and duties are done. Exactly. I think that's, yeah. And then if you wanted a clause, I could have the chairman of the council present this said list to CRO. And then should we have a subcommittee, sorry, this is not part of that, I'm just asking, should we have a subcommittee create it? Or should we have an individual create it, or the council actually come together and create it with the CRO or with the elections committee?
That's up to Ali if you want to move this. Do you have...
I feel comfortable doing it myself, because since I did it last year, I also encourage other people to give me your experiences on how the elections went last year, to let me know if there's anything else you'd like to be included on it, but I could pass it around if anyone's interested in seeing it, the detailed list, and then feel free to add afterwards.
Okay, so the motion is be resolved that a detailed list addressed to the CRO and the elections committee detailing tasks, duties, and a timeline within which these are to be done be created by Ali Barnaby and presented to the CRO and elections committee by the chair.
Oh, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm running in the elections, so is that like a conflict of interest?
I would say that it is.
Okay, maybe somebody else would like to.
I think that's a question.
Mia? Okay. Excellent.
May I make a friendly amendment to immediate after detailing and before tasks?
Okay. Okay, so Ali, are you comfortable proposing this resolution? Okay, do I have a second for this motion? Keith or Jim? Any debate on this motion, considering the conversation that we just had? If councillors are comfortable moving to a vote, I would be comfortable with that. Kate George.
I'm thinking like to add a clause that says if the list is not, like if the tasks, duties, and timeline are not adequately met, determined by council, the CRO will be removed from his position.
Okay, so this is an amendment. Be it further resolved that if the duties are not performed as judged by council, the CRO is removed from their position. Does that capture the essence of what you would like?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a second for this amendment? Amina?
Oh, sorry. I have a friendly amendment, but
Okay, what, to the main motion?
yes.
Okay. Do I have a second for Katie's amendment? Ali Barnaby. Any debate or council is comfortable moving to the vote? Looking at our tight timeline. Seeing no debate, sure. Question? Go ahead. Oh, call the question. Wonderful. All in favor of the amendment, adding be it further resolved section, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We're back on the main motion, moved by Katie, seconded by somebody. Katie George. Sorry, who was it seconded by?
I seconded it.
Oh, Al. Okay, excellent. Is there any debate on the motion, or are councilors comfortable moving to a vote? Mina.
Friendly amendment.
What?
Just for consistency, do we want to say like DSU president instead of Amina Bawaji since we're saying CRO?
Sure. Is that accepted by Katie Jim as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Katie, do you have something to say on this motion?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. It's just a sentence missing that was reflecting the conversation, I think, which is the person who's writing this will be open to communication and input from other counselors.
Okay, we can.
Do you think that's implied by just in her position as president?
Amina can just do it, or you can propose an amendment to amend the question.
Okay, I think I never mind. I think it's understood.
Thank you, Katie. Liam.
I was going to add an amendment, a friendly amendment.
You can do that.
Just sorry, no, really annoying. I just want to make sure that like in the if the duties are not performed, just adding a clause in that if like there's if there are extraneous circumstances that lead to duty not being performed, such as falling sick, that there will not be a removal.
So this would be an amendment. So it would be.
I don't think that's friendly.
It's not friendly?
No, it's not friendly. It would be just a full-on amendment. Zero is removed from their position unless there are extenuating circumstances as judged by council.
Yeah. Just so we don't. Yeah.
But I think that's kind of redundant to say it's already judged by council.
So that is moved by Liam. Is there a second for that amendment, the amendment highlighted in the blue? Seeing no seconds, it's taken off the floor. So we're back on the main motion. Alex.
Friendly amendment to add that this is in 2018, so that nobody's saying that this is a policy. And
Okay, I think that that's implied. It certainly doesn't change anything. Do you accept that friendly amendment? Katie?
Yes, sorry.
Amina?
Sorry, perhaps another friendly amendment. Do we want to be explicit around who will or who may take on that role? Do we want to explicitly say the DRO?
It is specified in bylaws. Yeah. Are there any other debate or councilors ready for the question on this motion? Councilors are ready? Yes. You ready for the question? Perfect. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand or otherwise indicate. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. If councilors have nothing else about the elections committee, we can move on to the agenda. We will move on. Old business, there is none. Executive business, there is none. Notices of motion, I have 4. First would be resolved that the pharmacy referendum question is approved as circulated. Second, be resolved that the Ennisburg referendum question is approved as circulated. Third, the CKDU referendum question is approved as circulated. Fourth, the Commerce Society referendum is approved as circulated. I'll send these out by email, but those are noticed for the next meeting by Amina. Comfortable noticing? Are there any other notices of motion? Are there any announcements? Then my only announcement is that the next meeting of this council is February 28th, as called by Amina.
I have an announcement.
Sorry, what's your announcement?
Sorry, budget consultations, there will be an email sent out. They will be getting March 2nd on Sexton campus and March 5th on Studley campus. Locations and times are TBA, but they are happening. There'll be a web form where you can fill the things. It'll be great. Yeah.
Thank you. I would also just like to remind councillors that at the meeting on the 28th, you'll be considering bylaw amendments that were sent around, I believe, after the last meeting or after the meeting before that even. But I'll circulate them again. If there are no other announcements, do I have a move seconder to adjourn? Liam and Katie McClellan. Any opposition to adjourning? We are adjourned. Thank you.